I just want to let you know that I cut myself off on 9/8/25, but I'm going to have a beer with you because I appreciate you being here. So cheers.
Oh, absolutely. Cheers.
Thank you, dude, for doing this. I cheated on you a couple weeks ago. I got a real itch. I had to go play, but it was like 8 a.m, so I went to the Hollywood 10. You know that I got a 1-round penalty for accidental exposure of cards?
Did Travis give it to you?
I don't know who gave it to me, but I thought they were kidding at first.
Early or late in the tournament?
It was immediately, like within the first 2 blind levels, no warning, no previous hiccup. And
I'm not against it because I feel like what Hollywood is doing right now with Travis Birch being in charge and being back and running things over there is they're setting a high standard where for a long time Cash Cows is the only thing running tournament poker here in Kansas City for like a couple of years. Now with what they're doing in Hollywood, I like the fact, like, I don't love an early tourney penalty right there, or maybe a one hand or a warning if it's early, but what is it, a 350, a 500, just a 100?
it was like a 150, 10 a.m.
I like setting the precedent of, as long as if he hits you with that penalty, and maybe not have been Travis, it might have been another floor, maybe Travis would think that's overzealous or not, I don't know, but I like them setting a high standard of, hey, we're going to follow the rules early and we're going to follow them tight. I don't love like multiple penalties, but at the same time, like setting a high standard for your room, setting your dealers to that same high standard is great. I love that part of it. So,
why don't they just give in to the jumbo cards?
what, like on the you talking the extra wide ones with the big faces, or the slender, like the bridge style cards with the big faces?
I like what you guys use over there at Cash Cows.
We're using like the more slender bridge with the big jumbos. I'd like to go to the even bigger ones, like the actual poker size cards, but my dealers are like, all of them, it's unanimous, or adamantly against the, like, you know, they're just extra wide and they're more to handle when you're getting rid of them all day. So I do like the jumbo pips just because I like to go into the mindset of there's going to be somebody in my poker tournament that can't see well, and this is going to help them. But beyond that, I think it's all just preference.
I can't stand the little cards. I feel like it's a deck that I bought at Walgreens.
I mean, in fairness, even the good brands at this point, like Copac and stuff, are putting out like Kims are $60 a pop, and I still don't think they're good. You know, we go through a deck a day, you know, a deck an hour at the World Series because players are just rough on them. Same at Cash Cows, like we're destroying cards daily. I'm sure they're doing the same at Hollywood. Like, it's tough to keep up on quality cards and like keeping your card inventory. Like, that's more pricey than people think just because it's so easy to thumb mark a card and then toss it away.
All right, Eric White, you're a fucking legend, dude. So tell me, what do you remember about poker? What's your first memory ever?
If we're going to consider poker, like if we can go outside the lines a little bit and call it pitch, I don't know if you guys have ever played pitch, but that's like the first card game I ever played. I was probably 3 or 4, maybe 5. I would play with Grandpa. When he would come in from farming breaks, we'd play like penny a point pitch. And I can remember like learning to play the game pretty well, and I was competitive against him. I could win games, you know, like eventually after we had played for a while. I remember trying to stack the deck on him one day when I knew he would be in for dinner shortly. You know, I went in, helped Grandma set the table. I went in, I carefully stacked the deck where it was just perfect, and I was going to be able to shoot the moon on him and win the game immediately. And we sat down, we ate our dinner. I thought I was super chill and cool and didn't give anything away. I was like, Grandpa, let's go play pitch. Let's get a hand or two in before you go back, you know, to work. And he comes in. I get ready to pick up the cards to deal. He goes, oh, no, you got to deal first yesterday. Takes the cards out of my hands, deals to me first, and then looks down at his hand. Says, I'm going to shoot the moon on you, because he had taken my hands that I had, like, set up to, like, deal to myself. And I think I was probably that years old when I realized I really enjoy cards. I'm never going to try to cheat anyone again. like Grandpa shook me. I think like he literally took like 27 or 35 cents or something stupid from me that hand, which, you know, is a lot to a 5 or 4-year-old, you know. So he shook me pretty bad on that hand. I was like, yeah, that's the last time I'm ever going to try to swindle anyone and cheat anyone in the card game. So
you got sharked by your grandpa?
Oh, dude, Grandpa was like the one in the family like that. You know, he had been to war. He could, you know, good farmer, good family man, like, but could play sports. Like, didn't know anything about football, like learned football because I liked football growing up, and at like 12 years old could still compete with me in a foot race. And he's like 85 and still could like get up and go, like, you know, run a cornerback, wide receiver, like cover with me and stuff, and still like keep up until I was probably like 13 or 14 when he passed. So
Did you grow up around here? Like where you say you live now? You don't have to say it, but
no, like I'm down in the
were you out of state?
No, I'm down in the same house, like, you know, about an hour out of here that I'm in the house now that I grew up in. I just, you know, I'm now, it's just me and my family now. But like, you know, and I rent my grandparents' house out to a friend's family and stuff like that. So still like all right there, close community.
Gotcha. Okay. So then furthermore, when did you discover Hold'em and the games we play now?
I want to say like late high school, like maybe late junior, early senior year, maybe like going through a breakup or something in high school, and like was being invited out to friends' houses for poker nights. And I'm like, you know, I like sounded so cliche. I was like, no, I don't gamble. That's not the stuff I'm interested in. I don't find any joy. And, you know, I had apparently forgot about playing pitch or those like, you know, parent house parties where you end up in some like quarter game of pass the trash with like old drunk people. And you're like, that was probably like, I don't know, 10 years old for me, like being at like some get together with my parents where we're playing pass the trash and silly like card games like that. But I don't know, I got back into it hard though. Like I went out there and played like one night, and I think I remember like making terrible folds. Like I was so nitty and conservative. I'm folding like top pair, top kicker to people that like had just as much clue as me, but had played like 2 games more.
So you played some home games in high school?
Yeah, like one of our friends' moms, shout out to the Goldsteins, Julia would have like, when her husband was still alive, they'd have like these huge gatherings at the house where all the kids, you know, it was like a $20 buy-in, so the kids could all afford to play, the grown-ups and parents could all play, and after the games would break, me and the young kids would play like dealer's choice and different, you know, like quarter ante games and, you know, stuff like that, just to lose 50 or 100 and have some fun.
When I was probably 14, I had a brother that was 3 years older, so I was super fortunate. He had like an apartment right out of high school, and they played a home game every Saturday. It's like $10, $20 buy-in. I can honestly say I have just as much fun playing now as I did 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. Did it feel the same way to you?
Well, I was playing last night, you know, of course, because, you know, we shut down a little early at the Billboard, but we had a little 6-handed game and was just having the time of my life last night. And I'm what now? I'm 40, so I'm probably the first time I looked at a hand of actual No Limit Texas Hold'em, I was probably 18 or 19. So 22 years now, and I think I got kicked in the head for like 50, a couple of tournament buy-ins and like 100 in cash, you know, just couldn't get it going. And I'm a nit, so, you know, that's a lot for me. And, but having a great time, like we're sitting there, we're having a glass of wine, we're all laughing, we're all having, you know, it was like me and Steve K and, you know, the usual scoundrels. So it was just I like a game like that. Like I'm not sitting at the table to, you know, try to smash people's heads in for like $2 or $3 grand. And poker is not war to me. Poker is fun. It's time to go have fun, social time, and enjoy that back and forth and that banter with other people, you know.
That's a pretty important relationship that you have to develop. I know when I was getting really heavy into playing the tournaments, it almost felt like work, and I hated that. I hated that a lot because it took all the excitement and the fun that I used to have out of it. And I was almost on a schedule. I was playing so much. Okay, I got to be up by 4 because the tournament starts at 7, blah, blah, blah. And then towards the end, I started having a lot better results at your club just by going in and having fun, not caring about the money, you know, not blowing it, but, you know, one buy-in, whatever happens, I'll leave instead of, but if I do 3 bullets, I know I'm playing good. I'm playing really good, technical ABC.
Like what are the blinds? Should I fire the second one here or shut it down and just wait? You know, like decisions like that, but you're making them not, are you having fun and playing cards and enjoying yourself, but what's the most financially crisp situation? And that can be, I played semi-pro for like 3 years and I didn't fail, but at the same time, I made enough money to pay my bills and keep my bankroll replenished to, you know, basically ground zero of where it was at when we start, and we make just enough money for bills. And after 3 years, I'm like, it's a job. I got to flip open full tilt every day. I've got the home games here, the casino games there. And like you said, you got a schedule, and sucking the fun out of it, where now poker's actually my job, and I'm running these events, and I'm playing the cash games with the guys or the tournaments with them if it's a slow start, on a Saturday morning or something. But I'm having fun. Like, I'm definitely doing what I'm supposed to be doing at this point, and win or lose, I'm like, well, punted 300 today. Most of that's my fault. Good game, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Like, rinse and repeat. So,
What age were you when you decided that you were going to try to make poker, whatever it was, playing, dealing, to what it is now, obviously came later? What age were you when you really decided that was going to be something you staked your life in to make your career?
I'm not sure the exact age. Well, like we said, I started at 19 with, the home games at the Goldsteins, and just playing in those tournaments and like small cash games in small town, like, country games and stuff. And really enjoyed it. But I don't know whether I'm fortunate or unfortunate that when I was young, I was bit by a dog. So I had some insurance money. So I kind of had a different poker path than your average 18 or 19-year-old kid fresh out of high school that discovers poker, because I had a set amount of money there that, no kid that age should have, like, 40, 50,000. So of course I'm dusting some of that, having fun being a young, stupid kid. But, had the amount of money to go play 2-5 and play good and learn something on a 2K or win or loss, and also play really bad and learn something from a 2K win or loss, so I feel like I had a different path. But I was probably, when I was doing all that, 21, 22, 23, I probably didn't really learn how to play poker until I had dusted most of that early young kid money, like where shopping, spending money on friends, just partying, having fun, traveling. So I'd say that's probably around the 23, 24 range where I finally, like, that money was gone, but I still could play, and I still had money to play 1-2. We wasn't playing 2-5 anymore. We were playing skillful 1-2 now and making consistent money, which is still to this day what I'm pretty much doing, 60 big blinds a night on average. Thumbs up. I'm not greedy. Score. So
where would you play 2-5 at?
Let's see. My big brother in my fraternity, shout out to Jake Simons, Missouri Valley College, 0506, told me to go to Boonville, Isle of Capri, because that's close to where, Missouri Valley is for college and stuff. And I got ready to go play 1-2. It was almost my 21st birthday or something. He goes, no, play 2-5. You can't beat the rake at 1-2. And of course, at this point, like, looking back, I was like, if you're playing 1-2 skillfully and consistently good, you can beat it if you get juicy 1-2 games. Looking back, I was like, everything that dude said to me was God's word in poker when we were growing up, because he was 2 classes above me, had been playing 10 years longer than me, like, since he was a kid. So, yeah.
So you'd play at Isle of Capri in Boonville?
Yeah, they had a really juicy 2-5. I had a cool nickname. Apparently one night I came in with a case of these energy drinks. Back in the day, I was all about rap and hip hop and R&B, and Nelly had an energy drink called Pimp Juice back when he had the same song that was also popular. And I tried a case of these because, of course, I'm towards St. Louis, so one of these gas stations has a case of them, and I buy it. And, like, some dude sees me with that, and then the rest of my career at the 2-5 game until they closed the Isle of Capri like a year and a half or two later was, no one even knew my real name. It was Pimp Juice coming in. So
Pimp Juice.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're 23, you're playing 2-5. You had some pretty good losses to $4,000 a night, you were saying, and then now you had
just up and down swings. And, like, it was really weird because the first 2 years I would, like, try out the table pit, 3-card poker, like max bet, Caribbean stud, same thing, like games that you shouldn't even be playing, let alone max betting. But, like, I'm 22 and I've got cash in my pocket, so I won't listen to anyone. But it kept balancing out the whole first 2 years where, poker went bad tonight, but I crushed it out on 3-card and just mashed them for like $3,000 or a roulette or whatever. Or, the table didn't go that well today, but I crushed it in the poker room where I won the tournament or something, And, like, but after 2 years, I finally went where I just went into, like, the casino 3 nights in a row. And I, like, just remember, like, 3-card poker just kicking me in the face, like, literally didn't win a bet for like 29 hands straight, didn't get anything back at $100 like max, and was just like, okay, that's enough. Like, that's 2,900, like, that's $3,000 in like 15 minutes. I think I took like one more shot the next night and lost like another 2, and was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And, like, I'm not a swingy gambler. I realized it then, because all my friends that would do the same thing. It didn't bother them, win or lose. They'd be right back at it the next day. But I realized it bothered me. I'm like, no, man, I want to conservatively play and like win. That's, I think, when I really started studying the game, is when I took those hits and realized I don't want to keep doing this. You're raising with a monster hand. I know for a fact you have me beat, and I'm going to try to overbet this and take it down from you because we're all playing with big stacks, and I'm less afraid to lose my money than you. So I think that's a terrible way to look at it.
So when you're 23, 24, that'd be like 2006, right? 2008-ish era. What type of like literature or stuff were you able to read when you said you start studying?
I mean, I think like the first thing anybody gets a hold of, I mean, it wasn't like the internet was new then, but the internet also isn't like it is now, where everything is just an instant snap and AI can, generate it and like give you the breakdown of everything. So I think like probably the first thing I did was got like Razor's Edge later on when it came out by Elke, but that was like, years down the road. But I probably started with, Brunson's Super System. I probably started with some conservative Helmuth books on actually winning tournament poker, because I was focused on being the guy that gets the money in with the best percentage, or at least statistically correct each time, short stack in a tournament, etc. Being the right decision each time is what I was focused on learning, for sure.
Did you start playing a lot of tournament at that point, or was that even possible?
Yeah, I'm playing live tournaments, but it's like, you're going to your buddy's house and you're playing 15 or 20 people for 20 to 40 bucks or a rebuy or whatever, whoop-de-doo. I was playing a lot online, like not high limit, but like major volume, where I'm playing like 4 to 10 tournaments at once. So I'd be like top ranked on official poker rankings. I think like the top 94 to 96 percentile like 5 years in a row, but that was only up to tournaments of $20 or less, something along those lines. So I was like crushing it, but for whatever reason I was crushing it at that low, like, wasn't leveling up, just was like happy just printing the money and getting a steady income that was, it wasn't like living, it was like just helping me out on day-to-day income and like a little extra boost, and I enjoyed doing it,
So what do you remember about when online poker became available in the United States?
Well, when it first became available, I didn't probably know what poker was at the time. My first remembrance of playing online poker was, I think I talked my dad into putting $20 on me for college on Ultimate Bet. What was that, Phil Hellmuth's old site, or the site he sponsored or something? And I think like 2 weeks in, I win this 550 turbo where like I multiply my stack 6 ways as soon as we hit the money, and should have been out anyway, and I win with like 10-4 in the blinds and go on to win like $2,000-$3,000 as a college kid. So I think I'm the greatest poker player in history, because I had $5 and now I have $3,000, so fuck them. I'm on top of the world. So I think that's when I probably got the inflated ego of, oh, this shit is easy. Like, why would I ever like bother with anything else in life? I'm just going to be a poker player.
Were you playing a lot online when they finally banned it in the United States?
Like, so constantly, to the point where I got like 27 calls the day of from all my poker friends telling me, don't sign out, don't sign out, don't sign out, because signing out on Full Tilt was, once you signed out and clicked out of it, that was when they would force you to do an update and you were blocked because of where you were. And that was like before the days where VPNs were so easily available, where we could just mask it and like make it look cool. So I think I got to play like 2 more weeks out in Las Vegas. I was in Vegas when the Black Friday happened. I was actually at the World Series, like working as a dealer, probably my first or second year. But like I played like 2 more weeks straight for 2 more weeks straight with like nothing but European players, which was super profitable. Like, so I mean, like I'm like, and you're playing super reckless and aggressive, because all the rumors coming out is you're never going to see a penny of this money, and everything was fraudulent, and they're going to seize it all. So I was like, I was probably making more risks that last couple of weeks than I'd probably made the entire 5 years prior, 6 years prior. So
I know you had told me maybe a few months back that they had froze some money in Full Tilt, but you eventually got it. Do you know anybody who had quite a bit of money that they never saw and it got seized?
To my understanding, and again, this is personal opinion, based on what I heard of it, anyone who wasn't like directly attached to the operations of Full Tilt, they pretty much made right with eventually. It was the issue of, if you were, any of Ferguson's guys, if you were anyone directly affiliated with the Chris Jesus and those different guys that were in charge of the quote unquote scam. My take on it is, had you have not shut them down, yeah, you're right, they would have kept scamming us, quote unquote, for the next 20 years, but we all would have eventually got paid when we wanted to cash out, because it would have never became not reputable. So while he was doing wrong, I at the same time am like, you made it worse. Like as far as shutting them down, like you just shut them down because that was a way you weren't getting your taxes, so you want us to go to the casino and play so you can get your, you get your taxes on and stuff like that.
So while you're playing online, you kind of mentioned, so am I reading it correctly, you decided to go the dealer route then for a little while?
I felt like I was in Missouri, and at that point I'm like, oh God, I got to be like 22 or 23, maybe even 24 at that point, and just kind of going through the same repetitive, like going out, hanging out, partying with friends, drinking, rinse and repeat, and not really doing anything. So I think I kind of finally decided, well, I was running all the games. I was dealing all these games I was participating in. I was running for the most part. I was handling the money, all the, just making, and not making money on doing that aspect, just doing it so it got done correctly. And I think we turned around where I kind of said, well, I guess that'd be cool. I could go out to dealer school, and give that a try the World Series, and if nothing else, it'd be cool to see it from the other side and really learn this stuff the right way. And I was self-taught, And when I went to dealer school, my dad was cool with it. Dad was like, yeah, I'll help you. He helped me get an apartment out there. He thought it was a good idea to go out there and try to do something I was good at.
So you went to Vegas?
Yeah, I went to Let's Make a Dealer, which doesn't exist anymore. Shout out to my teacher, Romeo Fermel. Him and his whole family are lovely. He was my poker teacher. They didn't really teach me how to deal so much. I really did teach myself very well before I got there, but they worked a lot with me on advanced rules, how to handle floor call situations. He kind of pre-trained me to become a supervisor because he thought that was the path that I would probably end up on, I guess. At the time, I had no idea why he was teaching me. He never told me that. But looking back on it, I was like, well, you clearly did that because you knew I already knew how to deal, so he was using my time wisely, I guess. So, very cool dude.
How long did that course run?
I think it was something where you pay for a year or two of it, or it's something where you pay per year if you need to keep doing it. They were actually asking me to be a teacher there and kind of take over where he could have more time off because he was dealing with a lot of stuff at the time. And I think I was just too young to be interested in that. I was like, no, I don't see that as my, as my path at all. That was an extra thing on the plate that I just didn't think I could do.
So were you dealing pretty quickly though out there to make a living?
Yeah, I was scared about it because this is true. We're gonna get super candid here. So before I ever worked at the World Series, I would go to Bill's Gambling Hall, which was owned by Caesars. But this next part is key. They had their own personal player's card, and for anybody that knows that's ever been booted from a casino property, they banned the card. That card and that person on that card is not welcome here anymore. So maybe a month after, I'd already passed my dealer audition. I was celebrating. I'm having a great time. I'm going to be a World Series dealer in 2 months, right? And I went to Bill's Gambling Hall, and some supervisor that was leaving work for the day smelled me smoking a joint in the parking garage in a corner and came over there and literally called security and had me escorted down. Security locked me up like I was a huge criminal. Waited for police to get there, and when the police got there, the dude quickly unlocked me. He goes, "What's going on here, man? What did you do?" And I said, "I smoked a joint, sir." He goes, Did you hit anyone? I said, "No." He asked them, they said, "What did he do?" He goes, "We found him smoking a joint so you locked him up and had him with his hands behind his back cuffed for 2 hours. And then they went down and cuffed me in front of the poker players and told me loudly in front of all the other poker players I was banned so that all the other stoners would know to take the hint to not smoke there. So I go into my first day at the World Series of Poker at Rio at the time, also owned by Caesars, but you use the Caesars rewards card.
What year was this, do you think?
This is 2010.
Damn, okay.
And I'm walking in there, and the first 2-3 weeks of a 7-week shift, I'm afraid that every time I see security with dogs, any of our security, they're there to protect us, and they're our friends, and they have no idea that I've ever done anything wrong. And I'm just nervous every time I see security walking towards me, in the hallways. I'm like, oh shit, man, they're going to get me now today. Oh no. I really like this job. I don't want to get fired for something I did stupid at another casino a month ago. But then I breathed a sigh of relief 3 years in. when they tore Bill's down and they replaced it now with I don't remember what they replaced it with, but it was like the quad. Yeah, I think they replaced it with what they call the quad now. You know what I'm talking about? Like
I don't know.
it's like Bill's Gambling Hall is like right there by Flamingo on the Strip. It used to be like in between that and like the really tall. It was like the Chinese themed casino. Like it was like I don't want to say the Taj. It was something else though.
The Flamingo's right there, kind of next to
Paris and Horseshoe, where they've remodeled for the World Series. So you like walk from there to the Flamingo, and on the other side of the Flamingo is like the quad now or something like that. But it used to be Bill's Gambling Hall on that next corner, and it was like 1-1 no limit hold'em. It was super. It was like if you couldn't afford to go and play real poker, you could go to Bill's Gambling Hall and like buy in for 20 and still like get to enjoy the game. You know?
Is the Flamingo on the Harris side or is it on the Caesar side?
No, it's on the Harris side. It goes like Flamingo and then it goes something else, but they're all like Caesar's own properties through there all the way like to Harris. Oh, he's showing us on the map right now.
Okay.
What are they calling where the Bill's Gambling Hall used? Oh, it's the Cromwell now. That's what it is now. Thank you. It's not the Quad. The Quad is like more farther over, but they changed the names of like 2 or 3 of those casinos and like rebuilt them recently.
The Cromwell's Caesar's property.
I really like Dre's nightclub is still on top, and if you're like looking for like a down to earth chill like nightclub that's reasonable, that's such a nice like rooftop type thing to go to at night. It's very cool.
So you first entered Vegas circa 2009, and then you dealt your first year 2010 at the Rio for the World Series of Poker.
Yeah, scared out of my mind.
That's fucking awesome, dude. And you've been going back every single year since?
I almost gave up. I probably did it 6 years, loved it, you know. And like by year like 6 or 7, I was really like all my friends were in management, and you know all the people I grew up with like becoming like friends with there were in management. I was hanging out with management all the time, and I just felt like each summer I was like getting passed over. I wasn't getting my opportunity, and I can remember like right when I started Cash Cows, like in the basement. I can remember saying, I'm going to start this live stream poker room in my basement for myself, not to build into a company or do anything. Just, I really like dealing final tables at the World Series. I dealt like 100 of them at that time. I was a restart dealer, mixed games, all that, you know, like good fancy stuff. And I was like, that's the one part of the World Series I've really liked over the years is dealing into the lights, you know, with big name players and big money on the line. And that's like my jam. And I remember like, the year I was starting Cash Cows, when it became time to, you know, World Series, like sign up for dealers. I didn't put in a dealer application at all that year. I put in a flooring one with my resume and all that good stuff and got passed over. And I remember calling my current boss now, Kevin, and being like, yo, I just want to tell you guys I'm gonna miss you. I'm not coming back this year. I had already made the decision. I was done. Because I didn't have another year dealing in me. You know, I was just tired of it. I had had enough. And he said, okay. He goes, I really understand, man. That sucks. Like, you're close, but I can't get you the job right now. I said, I understand. It's not your job to give me the job. It's my job. So I told him I was done. I'm walking away. A week later, like when we're like 2 weeks out from the World Series, his wife calls me out of the blue. We're all friends. We're all a tight-knit group. And she goes, get your shit together. Tell him. She calls me. She goes, Eric? I said, yeah. I said, is this Rachel? She goes, yeah. She goes, get your shit together. You're going out to the World Series. You're going to show up. You're going to deal. You're going to do a good job. I said, okay. So I got my stuff on. I went out there. Not happy about it, but I ain't going to say no to her. She tougher than I am. And this is like my best friend's, you know, another one of our best friends. But this is like my current boss's wife, and she's a wonderful person. So I get out there, and the person who had been like blocking me for years that like hated my guts is no longer there. They have moved on because of COVID. It was the COVID summer. So when I got there, they, I immediately got to meet, you know, that new boss in that position. I liked them. They were a really cool dude. They shook my hand. My old boss, you know, in that spot was like, hey, he needs to be in a suit. He should have been in a suit for a while now. Take care of him. So I literally like went from, I'm going to quit this job and not go back, and would have like thrown away, you know, a 10-year career, give or take, to maybe a 9-year career too. All right, cool. Now they're using me in a suit like 5 out of the 7 days a week. That's pretty, and I'm working 7 days a week because they're using me for everything. Because COVID, we were super short, so I I was a dealer. I was a dealer coordinator. I was a gopher. I was a floor. Like, they just pretty much, they was going to work me every day until I begged them to let me go home. So, but yeah, I almost threw away, and what led to what I'm doing now, and I almost threw all that away over frustration. So I'm glad I didn't.
Will you turn this piece towards you just a bit?
Yeah, am I losing?
You're fine. You're fine. You're good.
Right.
I just want to make sure it sounds good on the internet.
You're good.
So take me back then to starting the cash cows in your basement.
I just love the live streams. Like, I loved watching like live stream poker, like, because at the time it's brand new. So my thought was, I have the means because I've dealt these final tables, so I know the communication between like the dealer and production and how we do this. I know the ins and outs of it, like I've been doing it for years. So my thought was, just want to create this cool thing in my basement that we can do, and I wanted to put Midwest poker players, like, that you'll never ever hear of, and Poker News is never going to do an article about, and I wanted to put them, on the map. We wanted you to be able to see them, how they play, silly things they do, funny things they do, the banter. Like, we wanted you to experience why we love the game, right? So that's really, that was it. I wanted a fun hobby on Fridays. I told my wife, yeah, we're going to have a game on Fridays. You can play. It's, it's not to make money. Like, we'll make a couple bucks, but it's for fun. That's 100% started out being, let's start a hobby in the basement. We'll have a poker game once a week, and our friends will come over, and we'll record them, and we'll make them some burgers. And I think I was probably only making money on the cheeseburgers. I think I made like $3 a cheeseburger when the dudes would come over and want to eat one because they were delicious. And that's the best I was doing on the nights at the game, was hosting a game, and whether I won or lost, I maybe made like $20 to $40 just letting people come over and like tear up my house. So,
and how quickly did that evolve into finding a space?
it happened naturally because I wasn't looking for it. So
Can I ask, I'm sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
go.
just before I forget, so what years did you start coming home from Vegas? I assume you must have lived there for a few years.
I only lived there, and that's actually really good. That's a funny story. I actually lived there in like 2009, like you said, went out for dealer school. When I moved from one cheap apartment to another cheap apartment, I got a roommate who, when I came home to visit, they trashed the apartment. They stole a bunch of my stuff, like stupid young people stuff where I shouldn't have had that roommate because I didn't need it. It was just a little bit of the income coming back in so I could have a couple bucks to spend each month extra. So when he trashed the place, I kind of didn't do the Vegas thing anymore. Like, I'd go out for the world. That's when I started doing I'm going in the summer, but the rest of the year I was either in Ireland or Amsterdam or Missouri or, Florida or just anywhere else that wasn't. I got to the point I didn't like Vegas because Vegas people to me are like basically New Yorkers in the desert. Like it's a dog-eat-dog world out there where if I meet 100 people in Vegas that are like Vegas natives, I maybe get a handful of 5 or 10 of them that I think, oh, these people are like cool people and like people I could get along with, and I think they're good people, and I'm probably not even right on that number, but it just seems like a place where it's very cutthroat and bottom line, and there's nothing wrong with that if you like that sort of city and that sort of like hustle and bustle. But, I'm a Midwest kid from a farm. I'm just trying to go slow about it and chill. So it's just not really the right. I mean, I love the World Series pace, but that 55 days that I'm there for the World Series, it's work, 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 have drinks, have fun, go back, repeat. But I'm ready to leave at the end of that 55 days because I've dealt with poker players. I've dealt with rude people. I've dealt with 10,000 requests, at my daily job on top of, watching people for being scumbags and different stuff like that. So it's just, good Lord, like, let me get through the 55. Like, summer camp is exactly that. It's 55 days of fun, and then we go home. So
did they, once you started going home, the WSOP, did they put you up when you come back?
No, the WSOP has never, to my knowledge, put people up. The pay is good enough, like as a dealer or as a floor. Like, I go out there, I either find roommates that I've known for years because I've been in the business, so long, so I'll get roommates I trust, or, I'll get an Airbnb that'll allow animals so I can bring my 2 dogs and 2 cats, and, my wife will come and she'll take care of them for the day. I think that's what we're doing this year.
Do you drive? Or
Yeah, no, I drive.
Holy fuck.
Well, I'm out there 2 months. Like, I did the rental car thing out there one time. I think I got charged $2,000 for the rental car and another $1,000 because I clearly smoked weed in it. And I didn't dispute the secondary issue at all, and I'd already paid the first issue, so that was that. I did my best to clean it out on a midnight run to the airport as I was trying to catch a flight back to Missouri, and I did not. That wasn't successful.
I didn't think about the car thing. You almost have to take a couple
You
days
have
of
to.
drive because otherwise you're
And
dealt.
a lot of my like coworker floors, like I bet 1 out of every 4 of them just do like Uber to work. But the ones that are doing that either A, are roommating with someone they can ride with that's a dealer, a floor, someone on the roughly same shift, hopefully, as them, so they're not Ubering as much. Or, like I don't mind giving people rides, so I like to have a car if everyone wants to pile in with me after work and get dropped off. Cool, I'm going Flamingo right. If you guys are going the opposite way, get a different ride. But if we're going Flamingo right, I'll take you home.
How many total staff members each year, roughly, for the WSOP?
Last year was 90 floors, give or take. And then as far as for actual, you're talking staff just for operating the poker tournament.
Yeah.
Okay, so like roughly 90 floors. I think that number will go down a little bit just because the new software, the WSOP Plus they released last year, I was adamantly against it. I thought it was going to be terrible and it was going to make our jobs harder. Like, we can already we're already, running to do what we do in real life, and now we've got to duplicate it on a machine. But I used to be in charge of running all the late reg at the World Series, like at least in my room, all those lines that were waiting to get in the past. That was my job to get those seat cards and get them in this person's hand as quick as possible to get them playing poker again. And we got very good at that. When that WSOP Plus system came out, I was furious about it. I was like, this is never going to work. It replaced my job in 10 days.
Wow.
By 2 weeks into the series, I no longer had to be the late reg person. My boy Manny or my homegirl Jenna, shout out to Manny and Jenna, they're at WSOP Day 1 Bracelets, Jenna Lytle and Manny Duran, 2 awesome people, good friends, coworkers, replaced us. As far as now everyone's got a tablet. When you go busto on table 417 seat 3, I click you, I eliminate you, and it will immediately, the system, as long as if we've got a list of people waiting to get in, pings them on their cell phone, go to this table. All we have to do is make sure that table, the dealer has plenty of buy-in chips in there and that we're tracking those. It turned our job into, we can get so many more people in and out of the tournaments now, so we're going to break all the records and we're going to keep breaking them because we can seat you so much quicker than me and Manny and Jenna. I mean, I can't run a seat card fast enough to get that many people to the seat that quick. It's impossible. It's incredible what they've came up with this system. It's revolutionizing poker. It really is.
Yeah, I heard they debuted it at WSOP circuit event in Choctaw, I think a couple weeks ago, and I've heard, the comments were nothing but great things. Everybody was super excited. I think you can buy in from the app.
Yeah, it's and I think what they really did, they started at the Bahamas, the very first Bahamas. They figured, hey, this is a brand new event we're starting that's going to have hiccups. Let's introduce this, here, so hiccup away. And it's like, yeah, they can see everyone's like updated chip stacks in the tournament. They can check on where their buddies are at. They can update their own chips, and they're advised to do it accurately, because if they do it and they're just making up crazy, ridiculous numbers, they eventually get themselves locked from being able to update their chip counts by the app operators. But like that whole team of people that built the app is also on site at the World Series. I'm sure they're on site at the Bahamas. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 of them at Choctaw in case there's, even at this point, you're always going to have some technical, glitch or something happen where they have to like do a little like tweaking on it and, figure it out. But it's a game changer as far as like if you're volume-based tournaments. And I've always thought of the WSOP as like the largest of volume. Like WPT is, they run incredible events, but a lot of their events are, more higher buy-ins, more glamour and more glitz, where, yeah, we're doing all that as well. But, some of these tournaments we're running like the Colossus, where we're getting 20,000 in and like 6 flights, 20,000 or something like that. We're getting in for the Colossus and stuff. It's incredible. And it made it easy this year. There was days where, back in the seat card days, I would have been literally sweating through my suit and I'm panting at the end of the day, but we got it done, and maybe we only missed 3 or 4 tickets, and that's really, really good. Now we expect to miss 0 tickets because the system does everything perfectly. The only way we can screw up now is the dealer gives out 2 chip stacks for the price of 1. That's really the only way you can miss it at this point. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there still a little bit of sadness, though, that it seems like maybe the next time you return, you might not need as many, or people that have been dealing for 10 years might not have the opportunity now to transition to floor because they don't need them?
I think there's going to be a little bit of that. To me, there's sadness because as a dealer, that's what I did like for a good chunk of my career was I was on late reg a lot as the dealer who would write and sign people in and handle all that. So I was really doing my flooring job on that as a dealer like years before I was asked to do it as a floor. So I really feel like that was my whole career for probably like 12 years. And now I'm kind of readjusting as, well, you're not the late reg, you're not handling that entire room anymore and you're not running through these things. Now your job is to go watch these 60 tables right here and cover your section good and have it smooth, which is different for me because it's easier. Like my job is going to be, I'm going to go knock these people out when they've become eliminated and the seat's open. And then I'm going to, make sure everybody's being proper and we're not drinking too much, being improper, anyone being assholes to one another. So I'm pretty much just, babysitting. So it's just like a change of pace for me versus I was flying through it where the summer seemed to go like that. And like now last summer was like every day was kind of like longer because it's easier,
What was the most memorable thing about your first year? I mean, you go out there to deal, and then 3 days later, now you're the floor, the job that you wanted.
Yeah, I was calling my wife, and I'm on like cloud nine because I'm going out there depressed. Not like depressed, like clinically depressed, just sad about how things are going because it's not what you want. And I think I got out there, and as soon as I call him as soon as Jimmy has me shake the new guy's hand, which that's James, I immediately had a good rapport with him, and they said, well, we're going to have you, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to do whatever you guys will let me do, and they're like, cool, we're going to let you do all the things then this summer, like I said. And I just immediately like went home and called the wife and was like, it's coming together. Like, thank God I listened to Rachel, and kind of like a turning point because like I was just like I was going out there just to try to grit my teeth and get through another summer of pitching cards, and not like it's a bad job or like it's just I'd been at it for so long, and it's literally a backbreaking job where if you're flooring at the World Series and you're new at flooring, your feet are going to hurt even with this new system because your job is to walk and check, patrol your circle all day, get yourself a pattern, and be listening for floor call. So at the first end of the first couple weeks, your feet 2 weeks in are still hurting because you're not used to it because there's no other job out there where you floor like there because of the walking. I mean, we're doing a minimum of 5 miles a day, but usually like 10 to 12. I mean, I think I was doing 5 or 6 miles when I was late reg. Still, like, even though I'm close to one desk, I was still like running, all over the place doing stuff. So I really feel like that's what you trade it for is, man, I was tired of my back hurt and I was ready to like hurt my knees and feet. That sounds much better to me. So,
Okay, so you start coming home then after the 55 days and you realize that you're going to build cash cows in your basement. And we were talking about when did you escalate that situation to where you were like, I'm going to get a space and I'm going to possibly make another career out of this hobby that I was doing in my basement.
Well, like, again, no intention of that. I'm running these, once a week live streams, the occasional like Chinese poker heads up match between me and a poker friend, that I'm filming and just being silly with, and it was kind of like, I think I had a tournament. I think I finally said, hey, we're going to have this tournament because we'd only ever done cash games. I'm a cash guy, it's not called Tournament Cows Poker TV, right? So I decided we're going to do this 175. I thought that was a sweet price point, $20K or something like that, 20-minute clock. And it was going to happen in my basement. It was going to be great. We brought in, dealers that we'd never used before because I only had Tracy. I had Tracy and like one other guy that, I don't even know him anymore. He was just like a guy we used a couple times and disappeared. So I remember like thinking, well, this will be cool. We'll start getting one of these going per month. And I was thinking this is going to be incredible. I'm like, I might make like $150 running this event tonight. And that was like, to me, like the craziest thing ever because even when I was young running like a raked cash game, out of my house, it was like 25, 50 cents, 50 cents a dollar, like, max rake $1.50. And that's like, if there's like 60 in the pot, like we were just never like taking anything. I just remember being so excited about like the 175 kicking off and the next 175 I'd have. And the second 175 never happened because Scott Shearer, as you know, and I almost wore my Scott Shearer Pulp Fiction shirt tonight. I know you've seen that shirt. I almost wore that instead of the suit. He came down with, Mark Palmer and all those guys that are Eagles guys. And they pulled me aside at the end of the night and they said, we think what you're doing here is great and really professional, but I don't know how you think you're going to get people to keep coming out here in the country, because I had people driving 2 hours from Kansas to play in this live stream game and they didn't even know me personally. Like I wasn't well known in the poker community other than I played at Harris or Ameristar from time to time back in the day. So they brought me up to the Eagles for like one $250 buy-in or something, freeze out. I think we got like 40 entries, which at the time I didn't think was that big.
They brought you up there to run it?
They brought me up there. They said, look, we're going to give you a day where you're going to pick your day, and we want you to come in at this time ballpark and run whatever you think is best, and we'll see if we can, do this periodically once every couple months, once a quarter, see if we can make a couple bucks. I said, okay, cool. So I think we did like a 240 or something like that, and I brought in a bunch of dealers again, like I'm like scrounging for dealers because I don't, I have access. Like Tracy's already in what you can see in her dealer staffing mode. Like I already apparently had her pre-working that because she was bringing in all this extra help that I didn't know who they were. But we managed to pull it off. Rob Penny and Tom Newland. Tom Newland's passed away now. R.I.P. to him. Rob Penny and Tom Newland won the thing that day. I think they chopped or something like that.
Shout out to Rob Penny. He works with the fire department.
Yeah. No, Rob and me go way back too. Shot him, Marvin. Like we all used to just be bumping around, like playing tournament poker all the time together. So those guys will get the cash cows on rare occasion, but I always have like a soft spot for them because we played so many years at Ameristar together. So I think I remember that first tournament and just being like, oh, this is cool. And then I was ready to go back to my basement, like never even considered. And the Eagles were like, well, I think we could do this. What would you think about doing it more regularly? And I think all we ever started doing was every other weekend and the Wednesday on those weeks of every other, like Wednesday and every other weekend or something like that. And then it's grown to like, multiple venues and what it's gotten to now we used to get like 7 or 8 players or entries in some of our Monday events. And now we're getting 80, 85, 75, whatever.
So at what point did you realize I need to protect myself and build something that's going to protect me from the legal implications of doing a game at a... Okay, yeah, we'll take a pause. Back on.
We're back on.
My headphones are a little lower. That's good, too. All right. We good there, buddy? Cool. All right. Sorry about that little break. I was going to ask you about when did you start looking at state laws so you could start doing everything official and really make a secondary career out of what you're doing?
I mean, I was already looking at it like when I first bought the live stream table because that's not cheap, right? So we'd always, I'd ran like all kinds of games throughout my young years. Like I'm sure they could be considered any range of things as far as legal, illegal, etc. I got to the point where I wanted to make sure, I'm married at that point. So like I'm like 30, I want to say I'm 30, probably 34 years old. Yeah, I've been flooring about 6 years now. So probably about 33 to 35, somewhere in there. And I just decided I wanted to make sure everything I was doing was like super clean and by the book. And it was funny because when I went and looked up like Missouri law and like how we treat stuff, I was like, oh, well, I'm already doing this correct. Like I realized that everything I was doing in my basement was already pretty much okay. And then that's the first thing I told the Eagles when they wanted me to come up there. I was like, well, look, aren't you guys a charity? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, cool. Then you're gonna have to be the charity on this stuff because this is how stuff in Missouri works. And I'm not gonna leave a cool thing I've got going in my basement that's just a for fun thing and it's enjoyable, and I'm not gonna end up having it messed up, to go up here to try to make a few bucks because I didn't care about that aspect, at the time at all. I was just like, it was all for enjoyment. So I was just having fun with it, to be honest.
So what led you into being able to develop the type of schedule that you have now, where you're able to host a multitude of events pretty much every weekend?
I mean, dedication from my staff, and I say my staff in the sense of like all these people that come and volunteer their time for the Eagles, at the Eagles, over at the Belvoir, all these people that are giving extra effort, just because they believe in the Eagles, and what the Eagles do in the community. They, over at the Belvoir, we're raising money for the, police athletics league there and stuff, and we want to be in good standing with, like we have the police, KC Metro is, security a lot of our Fridays and Saturdays because, they're not the enemy. We're we're good with law enforcement. We're good with Missouri Gaming. We're good with all these people. You need to be good. I mean, we're doing right by people. And I think that's like the bottom line thing is if you go into it with the mindset of, yes, I want to win. I want to be successful, but I'm going to do it the right way. I think it makes everything easier. Where if that's your bottom line, I'm a Fallout guy, like, as far as video games and stuff goes. So I think it's kind of like treating it how you treat like a character on that of, are you making good moral decisions or bad moral decisions? And if you're making a lot of good ones, that's going to catch up with you in a positive way. And if you're making a lot of bad ones, that's going to catch up with you in a negative way, is the way I kind of see that whole layout going with that. So I think that's the main thing is, and when I thought about building it into what it is now, because like I said, we had Mondays where, we were getting to where we were getting 20 to 30 entries on a Wednesday, 15 to 25 on our weekend fun, bigger, quote unquote, at that time, bigger events. And, it was sputtering, we're not giving away a ton of free money. We're giving away some free $500 seats here or there for our main events just for showing up and playing. But I feel like it's the dedication from like, not me and not just like, me and my immediate crew, but like, look at right now in the public, you got Steve K and Max out there posting every day. They're on the Cash Cow group before me, telling everybody what we're doing tonight, this weekend, tomorrow, this week. They're on their own personal pages, resharing and reposting anything I put out there. And a lot of people are like, well, what are you paying them for that? Well, nothing. They're doing it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll pull them aside and I give them free hats, free t-shirts, free gear when we get new stuff. I tag them and stuff, and I give them verbal credit like I'm doing right now. But as far as like people think I'm paying them for the advertising, I'm like, no, but I really appreciate what they're doing, because the fact that I'm not paying them tells you that what they're saying they really actually believe, and that this really is the spot for them, and they want it to be the spot for all the players in the in the metro area. So
how many seasons have you run Cash Cows out of the Eagles?
Well, the first year wasn't a season as much as like it was, I think 2020, that was COVID, right?
Okay.
Because 2020 was COVID, so we ran that, that one tournament there. We ran a couple more like just one and dones, like no points, no nothing, anything special for championships or anything. And then I think after we did those three, it was kind of like a World Series break for me where I was leaving and going to Vegas, so we weren't going to do anything. I think I kind of designed this whole thing while I was in Vegas. And again, that was that year. That was probably the second year. So that was probably my year where I was officially showing up in Vegas as a floor for as a full-time floor that year. I think that's also the year we left the Rio and probably went to Paris, was when I started doing the actual championship thing with this. Because I just thought to myself, I'm seeing all these poker leagues. And I have no knocks on any of them, but it seemed like all these leagues that were sending people to the World Series main event, that's all they did. There was almost no or like very little to no daily prize pool or daily incentive as far as for that month to be in. Beyond, they want you to prepay, everything up front because we're going to do this big end of the year thing. And that seemed to be kind of the going rate. I'm not even like highlighting any specific one. That's just what all of them seem to do is, well, you guys are going to pull all this money and every night you guys are going to get paid a little bit of it back just for doing well, but most of it's going to the end. And I just thought, man, we could reverse these percentages the opposite direction. And we could create an atmosphere where we're doing the same thing, but the day-to-day matters more than the end result, and that the end result is a bonus. And we just send less people, because a lot of these, clubs I'm talking about send 5, 10K players a year. They generate 50K, but they also pay out very little of that throughout the season. It's all going to be for their guys at the end. And that's cool. I'm not knocking it or against it. I just thought to myself, I think I can get more dedication, and I think players will like it better if that's the I mean, have you ever, you've played at my club a ton, have you ever showed up and missed the amount that I've pulled for the championship to send you guys to Vegas? Have you ever even been aware of it? You know what I mean?
From the prize pool?
From the amount, the amount that we withhold, just that amount for the championship to send you guys to the World Series, or, these different package events we have at the end. It's like the only way it shows up and you even notice it is if it's just a massively bad turnout. You'll absolutely notice it if there's 8 of you,
Yeah.
But if you get any turnout at all, we've even had situations this year where one day we had a slow turnout. So I said, hey guys, anybody here play for the points? And it was 4 guys that had never played before. They have no interest. I explained it to them and they said, no, I don't care at all about that. I'm just going to play once every couple months. So I let them not make it a championship event, because we're starting a 4-handed event, man. It's 4 guys that wanted to come in and check it out. We clearly picked a wrong day for this. Clearly we misscheduled, but we can at least salvage it by not forcing you to kick another $5 to a pool you have no interest in, And I've only actually done that once in 4 years, is make it a non-point event. But that's my favorite thing about my company is, like I've already said, the first thing you want to do is make good moral decisions. And if that's your first step, you shouldn't feel bad if you see something that's wrong with something. And thank God that I don't have to wait 6 months, for approval from another board of, whatever, to tell me, yeah, that's right, you can do that. I see something, I'm like, oh, well, that's not fair to the players. I better switch this, and this will be fair, and it'll fix it. And I can do that next Tuesday, and then the next week we're same event, same whatever we're doing, but it's adjusted and it's fixed, so that way it's better for, if it's better for the players, I'll have more players. That's the way I look at it every time.
So for the last couple of years, you've been running the seasons. Can you tell people when they start, when they end? And they're basically based off of when you leave for Vegas.
Yeah. We went extra special big this year when we knew we were opening a second venue. We knew that in opening that second venue, that would add at least an extra 100 events on top of last year's exactly 150. At this point, we start somewhere in mid-August, and we call it a soft start because we don't get into the full 5-week schedule back to back to back. We kind of started off where it's just kind of the end of the summer schedule, a couple days a week, maybe a weekend event or 2. And then we really dial it up at the beginning of September, October. By September, late September, early October, we're into a full, the full 5 days a week, alternating in between both locations. My favorite thing about this year is guaranteeing the 2 10K WSOP main event seats.
How early into this season did you know you were going to be able to give 2 seats away?
When I finished last season.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was sending 2 last year on 150 events, and we had canceled. Cancellations at Cash Cows used to be, unfortunately, a regular thing. I'd build this elaborate schedule with all these great mixed game tournaments and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we didn't have the player personnel to support the schedule I built. So, of course, a lot of stuff is, in the first 2 years of Cash Cows being in the city, was shotgun approach of shoot at the wall and see what sticks and hope it sticks okay. So, we used to have 10 p.m. events every night that we operated, because we only operated 1 or 2 nights a week. So, of course, we needed those time slots to have a Turbo Omaha high-low, that we get 7 entries for, or doesn't go at all. And last year, we only canceled 2 events, and they were both on the same day, and it was pretty nasty weather, and we just didn't have the players to show up for a noon and a 3. And every other tournament went, maybe it didn't go great, but every other tournament kicked off that year. And this year we've had no issues where where we've had even close to a cancellation, I don't feel like, or we might have been close, but we've kicked off everything. And the support of the community is incredible, especially up at the new location in Belvoir, where, of course, you're opening a new location. It's 30 minutes from your normal home as far as where you normally play. So I think it could have gone better, but I think it could have also gone a lot worse. And I feel like we're hitting adequate numbers, which is from a company that struggled to get, more than 10 players when they would open up a new night of poker 3 years ago, to, opening up a grand opening night at a new place with 60 and then averaging, 30 to 35 on events where we expect to get those numbers, I think has been a blessing this year, not just for me, but especially for the staff and for the players to have a place to call home. If the Eagles was a drive for you, hopefully the Belvoir is closer, and hopefully it's a walk for you if the other one's a drive, or vice versa.
So for people that don't realize, in about 7 to 8 months of poker, they have an opportunity to earn a $10,000 seat at the World Series of Poker, and not one but two this year, by playing in your events.
I expect 3. Just where the money's at right now. We're halfway through January, and I feel like we're about at the 26 to 27,000 mark, give or take. It might just be 25 without me having the numbers in front of me, but if we can hit the 44 to 45,000 mark, which should be easy to do this season, there's no reason why 30K of that shouldn't go right to the main event with 3 guys to deck out in cash cows and rep us out there, like as we've been doing every year for a while now. But I don't want to overshoot it either. I also almost made a trophy this year for the main event for the 500 buy-in that was a 40K guarantee, and then before I hit order on those trophies, I went back and changed it to a 30. So
yeah,
and I've hit 44 and 57 the last 2 years. Yet I was like, well, 30 is really safe. When the guarantees don't come from sponsors and it comes from your own pocket, you sometimes don't jump the gun on that extra 5 or 10K.
One thing that's really, well, not one thing, but a multitude of things that are really attractive about your club, and now both your clubs, is that you make it feel like you're almost playing at, I don't want this to sound like a backhanded compliment, but a very, very, very professional luxury type World Series of Poker feel. And obviously that a lot of that appears to come from a guy who's a part of the World Series for 10, 15 years now. The fact that you can go in and you can compete against players who love the game so much that they're spending every weekend in these clubs, and you can come out with a ring. It sounds stupid to people, but it really is meaningful. And I'm sure you realize that, but like coming out number 1 and putting a piece of hardware on you is very meaningful, because you don't have a lot of opportunity outside of Run Good and the WSOP circuit events to do that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is thank you for that. It's really great. And I don't know what your vision was when you started that, but now with the Belvoir, being able to put your name on a trophy that stays in a haunted winery. I mean, all of that stuff is so incredible to me. And I hope that, I'm sure you do, but I hope you grasp, to us players that love the game, it means a lot to us.
I think I don't grasp it, but I also think it's like, we've all heard Scott go on about the rings, and like, especially like, you haven't seen the new rings. I don't think I've seen you in like 3 months. So like, you haven't seen, the new ones are probably twice as big, but much more like articulate, detailed, classier design. And they make the old ones look, exactly how Scott would like joke around and be like, no one cares about those rings. I'm like, well, the numbers would say otherwise. And you've got 40 guys, and then they are debating. Like, they'll sit there and work out a deal, a 3-way chop. And then, Tracy will walk over, all right, well, which one of you guys were getting the ring? And you actually have them, this is a championship ring event? Yeah. Guys, are we sure we want, well, who gets the ring? And they're wanting to flip for it or keep playing for it. Or they're like, well, can we do the same money deal but keep playing for the ring? Which, from a ownership standpoint, God, that's the worst. Because there's no bonus there anymore. Like, you're like, all right, cool. So the money's already divvied, and you guys are just going to sit here and, burn the dealer for another like hour or so after we've been like on a 12-hour shift today. But the casino would tell you no, or most casinos would tell you no. The policy at Cash Cows is, if it's not going to hurt anything, what am I going to lose, a few bucks? Or we don't have a dealer on staff that's mad at, we lost like $15 of our bonus because they wanted to play it out for something. Like, we don't. I think that's something that I really like about the guys who volunteer for me, and the guy, like, the gals, of course, both, that come in and like dedicate their weekends or their weeknights, away from their, other jobs or whatever they're doing, is the attitude of, for example, you got a dealer yelling, at some event that's in a casino that the push is going through, and he was supposed to get a break, but that guy ran to take a piss before he came back to give him a break, and he had to deal 2 more hands. And at Cash Cows, that would never be a grievance from one of my people. It's like, hey, man, you mind if I grab the restroom? Yeah, man, go ahead. I got this. I'll do for 2 or 3 more hands. You're fine. I get plenty of breaks. and they all seem like they're really there for the cause. They're there for. They all want to get through it. If it's a good day, great. If it's one of our slow days or a day that's not going well for anyone, let's all get through it and work together. And it's kind of the same, like you're one of the players. You see how all the players police one another. I don't have to come over there and tell you guys to talk nice to each other. Like at the World Series, I wouldn't care. Like as long as you're not completely out of line. Poker is war at the World Series as it is. Like that's how the world works out there in Vegas. But here at Cash Cows, like the money win is secondary. I play at Cash Cows in my own tournaments, and I want to win. But I also want to, like, hang out with these guys, have fun. Like last night, I think I fired yesterday. Fired a 65 in the noon, punted, almost hurt my hamstring. Threw 2 bullets in the 7 p.m. At least punted on one of them, but definitely the second one. Like, at that point, the hamstring's in rough shape. I had a blast with those guys. I lost 3 bullets of the 65s yesterday, just having fun. I'm laughing, I'm having a good time, and I couldn't care less. And then I go and set the cash game, and I lose a little bit more, like, grinding it out and trying to play good. But, like, it's fun. It's enjoyable. Like, that's why when somebody comes out and they're mad about money, or they're like, I can't believe I lost that buy. And I was like, well, or they'll come up and rebuy, and they're like, oh, that was stupid. Like, I can't believe he called with that. And maybe a new player sometimes, too, is, that's used to coming from these other games where it's combative and everybody's out to get everybody. And I'm like, hey, man, do you still want to play? You want to jump back in, or are you having fun still? Yeah, I'm just upset. I'm gonna do another one though. But I'm like, all right, well, I don't want you doing it if you're not having fun, because there's not a tournament we host this year or next year. The only way you could make retirement money at Cash Cows is to win that 10K seat, take your ass to the main event at the World Series and win that one, and then you can retire. Well, you can final table retire probably too, but you're not here to win retirement money. You're here to have a good time and have fun. And I love how you guys as players seem to police that amongst yourself, where like when someone comes in grumpy, they ain't grumpy for very long. They're either grumpy and they punt their stack and go home because everybody else is happy, or they get happy because they're there playing poker on a Wednesday and they're having a good time.
With a great structure and professional dealers, that feels like you're at a casino. I mean, it feels like you're doing the damn thing. And yeah, I hope a lot of people realize how special the place is. What went into being able to secure your second location at the Belvoir?
Well, similar to...
When did the talk start? Sorry, I wanted to ask, like, how soon were you thinking about needing a second place?
Never. I had tried a second place with a different company, and being that I'm trying this new thing in 2026 where I look at things more positively and try to be more positive. So rather than to trash the company that backed out on the handshake agreement with me that I'm still to this day upset about, I had no interest in getting one after that, because that was like the beginning of not this season, but last season, and it was like a 3-game set, and then it no longer existed. It was a big pain in everybody's ass and a lot of money spent for no win. So I had no interest. When the guy approached me, Jesse, at the winery, when he came up to me, I was adamant about it. I was like, yeah, you're going to have to really sell me on it, because I've had a year of it, with dealing with the other place. And
where was that other place at? You don't have to say the name, but I remember seeing a lot of your videos.
It was over in Grandview. I thought it had potential for how it was spaced and how we could set it up. Its location wasn't ideal but neither is the Eagles as far as where you're actually located. So I thought it was a workable spot that we could really turn into a success, similar to what we're doing with the Belvoir, if word of mouth got out and if we continued to do everything the Cash Cow way. I don't know what you want. Maybe that's a silly thing, a silly way to put it, but yeah, keep doing it the way we've been doing it. It's not broke. And I thought that was going to I thought that place was going to pan out. The first three nights were really good. There were going to be some kinks to work out, but the players had migrated. They were playing. They were having a good time. They enjoyed the place. And then the ownership of that place just is kind of one of those situations where there's an agreement in place, but each time I show up, you see that I'm doing well, so you want a little more. And it's like, we're 3 games into this, so how long can we go with that until you have all of it? And I'm just like, I'm kind of glad they broke deal when they did without me having to do it, because that would have been the long-term thing, is nickel and dime until like my people or myself is just disgusted with it. So I kind of felt like that was the route it was going to go anyway eventually, but I was going to weather that storm and, fight the battles as I get there, which is my motto, or the way I like to attack things is don't worry about it till it's time to worry about it. So
So the Belvoir, then Jesse talks to you, and he's got to really sell you on it because you had this horrible experience in
Yeah.
Grandview. What was the turning point where you decided, you know what, I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to run an additional 100 events?
He brings me in one night. He's like, "Why don't you come up? You like wine?" I said, "I like sweet wine." He goes, "Oh, most of our wine is sweet." And it had been a couple years off and on of he'd come in and just like, "Oh, I got a cool place. You might want to check it out sometime." Casual, just not like, "Hey, you got to," He never sold me on it in a way like where he was like, I think a lot of people, like when I was expanding, they're like, well, Eric's desperate to expand because he wanted to last year, and this place is desperate to get business. I think it was the outside concept of people that like had no idea who he was or what the place was, and just like, had opinions. But what was impressive to me is when I went up there to check out the quote unquote haunted winery, I went in with an attitude of, I'm going to look for everything in this place that I can't stand, and I'm going to press him for anything that he doesn't agree with or side with on me. I'm going to, just look as a big red flag because of dealing with the other guy and, wasted money on the other venue and, wasted everything, right? But then when I went in there, well, here's one room. Oh, okay, this is the room that we're like in, at the first, like at the fire escape. He shows me that room first. He goes, "This could be your all's room." So this is really cool. Walks me to the next room. He shows, "Oh, this is like, we call this the ice cream parlor. This is another room you can use if that one's booked. We will move you around from time to time." But he's like, I seen how he acted with his staff. Like he's got his bartender Ashley, which she takes care of us, as well when we're there. She's super chill, easygoing. Like and that's kind of his, like, I've never seen this dude upset. And I'm a person who gets upset when I'd like to think I only get upset when it merits it, and I should be upset. But I was mildly impressed because like this dude never gets upset. So when he's showing me all these things, he takes me upstairs. He shows me the hotel rooms. He goes, "Oh yeah, if your wife likes to have a sip of wine and come up and hang out, like we can get you guys a discount. Like the rooms are usually $150 to $2, but we'll set you up for $50 or $60. I said, "Oh, that's great." Like, because I'm already, when I'm at the Eagles, I'm already on Friday nights having to go stay in a hotel. I'm like, imagine this. I just get done at Friday at the Belvoir, the cash game ends, and I head up to my room and take a nap and get up and run the show in the morning. So I really like that. That was like the first thing. And I think he caught me a room one of the nights I was up there to check it out, which was part of his selling point. But he like caught me like the bridal suite, and it was like a frickin' apartment. And he goes, "Anytime the bridal suite's open, I'll let you have it on a Friday when you're up here a night you want to stay." And it was like a huge living room with like a TV, and then it's got its own separate bedroom and huge separate bathroom. And I'm like, well, this place is just ridiculous. But I just couldn't find anything about it that it was like, asking him, "Well, what are you going to do about this?" I was just like throwing questions at him where I expected him to say something that would just be a deal breaker. And each thing was like, well, we'll figure that out. Maybe this or this, like, but we could look into this. But he was like willing to spend money on it, where that was surprising to me because usually in these situations, it's what can I get out of this company that I, in my mind, make money. It makes money, so I want my share of it if I let him be here. And with the winery, it seemed very, and always with the Eagles, I want to clarify, I'm not, that's not a knock on, they're always great too. But I was just impressed with everything that came up where he's like, "Oh, I can actually cover that for you." Because I was like, "Oh, the lighting in here is, I'm going to get some lights." He goes, "Well, yeah, you can do that, but I'll go ahead and get this and replace this and this." Like, so he was on board with the project of turning this banquet room into a poker room with the things we need, Wi-Fi extenders, different stuff that, like, yes, I've got a lot of equipment, but he was willing to add to it and do his part. He's also similar to Scott at the Eagles. Let's say something comes up and he's got some wedding party problem the day of one of our events and needs to move us. I woke up one morning and all my stuff was already moved from one room to the other, set up perfectly ready to go before any of my staff got there. Him and his staff did that because they needed the other room, and then he apologized to me for it. I'm like, I didn't have to have staff here to move. I didn't do anything. Like, we can operate poker there, no problem. Like, no need to apologize. So I was just kind of impressed with, I like to try to think I carry myself with integrity. So when I see other guys that say what they're going to do and then follow through with actually doing it, I'm impressed by that because I feel like that's pretty rare in, not so much in the Midwest, but in the world we live in today. And I feel like it's getting, more and more rare the further we go in time. So I'm always impressed when like people say what they're going to do and then they follow through and like, "Oh, well, let's do this." And the next thing I see that's been done because that's what they said they were going to do. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on board with this because you're obviously going to do what you say you're going to do. And that means we can have a conversation if we disagree about something as well. So
It's crazy how things just seem to happen for the right reasons. Like, it's almost like, thank God it didn't work out at Grandview.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be at the Belleville right now. I wanted to ask you a couple more things. Definitely, I wanted to pick your brain about how does Club WPT Gold get around because online poker is still technically illegal right now. How does Club WPT Gold get around that? And why does that not draw attention to whoever thinks that online poker should be illegal? And if you're not familiar, they do it on a system that basically you buy something and then they give you money. What is that, and what do you know about it?
Yeah.
And how does that work?
I have a lot of opinions on this. I want to preface this by saying I went years at Cash Cows with being bombarded with, the club companies, seeing that you run a poker company and messaging you and being like, oh, I bet you have players they'd love to play on our club, or other individuals that are like, oh, I'm going to come play at your club and I'm going to try to recruit all your guys at your club onto my app and stuff. And my issue with it has been, I think that it should be completely okay if you choose to want to play on a club as an individual player. I think it should be okay to run a club. Where I actually agree with legislature is that the problem with a lot of these clubs and the way that you make it where it's called sweeps coins. So what you do, let's give an example of, you're wanting to play in this $800 tournament. And as far as I understand at this point, I believe this is all legal by U.S. government standards now. Like, the sweep coins have been approved. And also I read recently that I believe the U.S. government has also came out and said that games of chance are deemed as legal now as well. But that doesn't mean it's legal on a state level or where you currently reside. Like, whether that agrees or disagrees with Missouri's laws, I'm not sure, as far as with the gambling of random gambling and random, what's the word? They're referring to like the slot machines and gas stations and stuff when they talk about whether it is or isn't okay. With the sweeps coins, I don't see an issue with it because, like, a lot of the times it's like, all right, I'm taking this money and I'm buying this other non-tangible item, and I'm using the non-tangible item to participate in this event. And in this event, at the end, if I do really, really well, I now get a ticket to go play in another event. And, like, that's, how we would run a satellite, but we're going to run it under sweeps coins rules. We're going to make sure that as far as federal regulations, like, I don't see anything wrong with anybody that's actually, like, licensed to be running a club if you're licensed to do so and you're doing right by your players. And I think that's the main thing, and why all these clubs get a bad rap is because, let's say I'm club manager A and I get 200 of you to sign up for my club, and you guys all deposit your 20 to 100 to 200 bucks, and then I head to Mexico. And I'm just a person, and I'm not an LLC, and I'm not licensed to do what I was doing, and I don't actually know what I was doing or have real knowledge to be doing it, but I can snow 200 people into giving me some money, and then those 200 people are going to go complain to their local law enforcement, to legislature, to anyone that'll listen that they think can help them get their money back. And just like cheating in poker, it gives everything in poker, or everything in that realm of poker, a bad rap. Online poker used to be cool. It used to be mainstream. It used to be everybody played, and it was fun. And then Black Friday happened, and Tilt and Poker Stars closed, and all these pros are always getting accused of a new form of allegations for cheating and doing this, allegations for doing that, a ring of guys doing this. And it's like, guys, you're ruining the game you love. You're making it difficult for people to run legit games like Cash Cows. That's the first thing people ask me is it safe? Well, yeah, man, we have security and stuff, and the locations, it's cool. Yeah. As we've never had anyone robbed or any. Been here 5 years at both locations, collectively 5 years, and nothing's ever happened. Well, yeah, but is it okay? Yeah. So we're not doing anything wrong, man. Like, we're following our state laws. We're following the federal laws, and that's the goal every day. Like, we want to keep waking up, and I want my job to be to keep running this game that we all love. I like it in the summer. I love my own company even more. But there's no doubt in my mind this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And if I was sitting here robbing you when you came to my club and robbing the next 10 guys and doing shady shit, I would sure as hell hope that the local government or local law enforcement would come in and shut me down, because that's exactly what I deserve, you know. But I wish that would stop happening so much in our community, because, you know, for every reputable Hollywood casino and reputable cash cows, there's some non-reputable entity out there that's trying to get you to give them the same amount of money, and then they're just going to dip. And then it makes all of us look bad, like we're all out to do the same thing. So that's the part that really bothers me about it in general.
Where do you see cash cows in 5 years?
Tour. I don't know where it'll start, but
I fucking love that, dude.
And I want it to be a mixed game tour. I don't want it run good seems like, you know, it comes around, it runs no limit hold'em. You might get a horse or something in it, or, you know, a seniors game or some Omaha.
But about all they had when they came here was a PLO.
Yeah. I basically would love to see a no limit hold'em in the mornings, you know, noonish, and I'd love to see a deuce to 7 single draw at night. I'd love to see a deuce to 7 triple draw the next night. I'd love for, you know, mixed games to, and that doesn't mean we can't still have no limit for the, you know, the regs that want to play that, but have it concurrent. You know, there's a good market out there, like, and I know the first casino I try to sell this to is going to laugh, because what's the casino's goal? You know, bottom line, money. They need to bring that in, and when they hear deuce to 7 single draw, and we're not at the World Series for summer camp, they're going to be like, well, that's only going to get like 30 or 35 entries, man. Like, that's not money for any of us. And my responsibility, well, we have to build something. If there's one mixed game tour traveling the states, all the mixed game players will follow that tour, because there's something for them every day. And there's a lot more mixed game players out there than people think. Like, you know, there's more Jerrys out there than you know, that don't care about no limit hold'em or Omaha. They think it's boring, and they'd rather play games where they have to think in a different way. And I think that's kind of what Cash Cow's mark should be on the tour community, if we can ever make it happen. It doesn't mean we won't hold no limit hold'em, because you have to do that, you know, to keep the lights on, and that's what everybody wants to show up for. But if you could just give them something else each day that's not no limit hold'em, and not just a nightly, you know, a reprint of a lesser, you know, lesser chips, lesser structure no limit hold'em, I think that you'd get not just the players, but again, like, what are you trying to build for? Are you just trying to build to make money, or are you trying to build to, like, solidify something that's cool, that people actually appreciate and actually, like, want to be a part of, not just something to do for a weekend that they could care less, you know? So I think that's a way to look at it, is money's not the bottom line, but, like, to me, legacy is more important than the money side of it by a wide margin.
So what you're saying is you're a pretty big Alan Kessler Chainsaw Series of Poker fan.
Negative. Now, I will say this. Over the years, we have disliked each other, but we've buried the hatchet at this point. As far as I'm concerned, me and him are fine. He used to really stress me out at the series when he was, you know, more of a newcomer to the scene and, you know, on everybody's radar. But he's how he is, you know. So from a dealer standpoint or from a floor standpoint, you're at some point going to be frustrated. But as far as I'm concerned, we're good now. But I did think it was crazy odd. I thought it was a April Fool's gimmick when I seen the first time they had him do the chainsaw thing and be a part of it, or be like, you know, a spokesman or a floor or whatever they were having him do. The first time, it was like right around April 1st. And I was sure this was like some poker like company being like, fuck it, we're going to fuck with him, you know, and like, we're just going to like hammer him and we're going to say it's Alan Kessler Day.
Try to pull up the Alan Kessler chainsaw. But, I mean, what about him doing that at Planet Hollywood and finding a home for his mixed game series of poker? What have you looked at his model and how he introduced that conversation at all? Because I think, I don't know, but that sounds like that would be important for you to understand what the appeal was for Planet Hollywood to pick a tournament tour that is obviously not going to draw as many numbers as a WPT or as a WSOP or even a run good at Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, you should have probably less. I would, well, the joy of having it at the Planet Hollywood out there is that Vegas traffic. So, you know, you've always got your doors open, so you never know who might stumble in off the street, just happen to be there and hear that there's a poker game and they don't care what poker it is. Having said that, I totally get why they did it. I actually have a little bit of a background with Planet Hollywood. Shout out to Moody, who's my He's like head of our chip cage at the WSOP, but he runs the Planet Hollywood poker room as well as, I believe, the Horseshoe poker room. So he's doing a lot, and I actually talked with him a lot about that because he knows that Kessler stresses me out. And I was like, well, how did you guys, come to do this? And the room is not huge there, but it's really luxurious. We went and played like a Poker Stars meetup game there during the World Series last year. Like a bunch of us floors went over there, just walked over after work and sat down and played and and had some fun. But it's like, it's a really nice room, but they space the tables out. There's lots of walking space. They don't try to cram it up and see how many they can fit in there. And that room is going to go places just because of Moody being in charge of it. I started off when I first became a floor. Moody was on the same crew as me, but he was like working the chip cage part-time. And in this small amount of time, he's went from like completely in charge of the chip cage and running 2 full rooms by himself, like where he's like the head honcho there. So I'm really impressed with him. And that room is going to go places because of decisions like that. Because think about it, No Limit Hold'em solved. You can give me any scenario on No Limit Hold'em, and I can go and find you literature from multiple different subjects on the exact right way, and they won't be the same. But I can go find you literature on multiple experts on the subject that'll give us different ways to play that situation. And we can call it in Omaha and most of these regular traditional poker games a solved game. But like, you're coming out here and like, they played horseback a couple days ago at Hollywood here in Kansas. And I didn't get to go to the game because it was like after a cash cow night, and I had cash cows like the next day, so I'm sleeping. But, I mean, that's cool as shit. They're playing 3-6 limits, so it's small. It's affordable where you should be able to afford to sit and play on that. But, like, they're doing that in the Midwest, man. Like, at cash cows, we're getting sometimes a mixed game where we're playing like Badoogie, Badesi, and Badusi, like in rotation. It's where it's going, because if you want to beat people at a game, it's going to be a lot easier for you to beat people at a game that you've studied and you're good at, and there's not 10,000 books of information out there. Like, AI will tell us a lot less about a horse game and proper strategy on a 10-game mixed dealer's choice than it's able to tell us. Like, it's going to tell us everything about Hold'em and Omaha. But some of those games are still not completely solved, and the newer they are, the less they're solved and the less people know about them and have played them.
But the less people that want to play them, too.
Absolutely. Winnable fields, though.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Last couple things, and then I'll let you go, man.
Yeah, you're good.
Take me back to the World Series of Poker last year with William Kassouf. What was the energy like, and did you expect him, and I'm not asking you to say something you can't say, but did you expect him to be walked off for that type of, that's his game. We know that's what he does. He's a loudmouth. He's obnoxious. He's incredibly annoying to the point where if you don't have headphones, I don't see how you'd even play at his table. But it's so good for poker. And I was just talking to you about this before. I know you disagree, but when we saw the downfall of poker, and now we've seen the boom in the last 5 to 6 years, to me that's so important because it's a game that almost went away, in my opinion.
You talking the talking and that type of speech play, quote unquote, the Jamie Gold type of shit, like,
yeah,
like the John just constantly John to be John type of.
Well, he's autistic. If you can talk that much, William Kassouf is legitimately, I think he's on the spectrum.
I think Martin Cabral is on the spectrum. I think, like, here, I have a background on this, so before we get into my opinion on it, I want to tell you how I know Kassouf personally. I used to go to Irish poker. Something we didn't touch on is what I did when I wasn't at the World Series. Back when I was about 28, 29, one of my bosses at the series, Sean Lytle, him and Jenna, I mentioned her earlier, invited me to go as a dealer. I was a restart dealer and dealing a lot of final tables, so obviously I can deal the games. They invited me to go to Ireland. So I went over to Ireland and I got really deep into Irish poker. I went several years in a row, probably 4 or 5, dealing the Norwegian championships and the Irish Poker Open, which up until the last few years was always for a lot of years they were separate, and then for like a span of like I think 10 years or so they were like back to back, where you do 10 days of one and 10 days of the other, and then the event series was all over. So when I was going over there, my favorite Irish word, by the way, is crack, spelled C-R-A-I-C, and that's like their word for having fun. So like at the Irish Open, you have like the crack den where you go for your drinks. You got like all the, different fun and games, and like, it's just it's like a grown up, circus in there. So I'd go over there for years. And I got to be, really good friends with all these dealers, from Ireland, from, Europe, because all these dealers are traveling over because this is one of the longest running events in the world. So it's like 80, 100 dealers. My first year, there's probably 80 or 100, and it just kept growing. And I got really good friends with this really young Irish girl named Lauren. We just became the best of buddies for years, like never dated, not interested in each other, just best buds. And we'd go and travel everywhere together. So she leaves Ireland about the time I decide to go, get out of poker and get married, and settle down a little bit, at least stay in the States longer. And she goes to Australia, and one thing leads to another, and she takes over Australia Poker, where she's running the biggest club in Australia. Her fiance is, I think, a floor supervisor there in her club, and her like business partner is like in charge of the club. And this is like, they have huge tournaments, like 20,000 Australian money buy-ins are like normal for them over there, and massive payouts. So her significant other is named Will Davies, and I become good friends with him. He's a good guy. So when we would all go to Vegas, Will Kassouf him and Will Davies had been friends on the Grosvenor Poker and all that European poker circuit stops. They're playing against each other, and they've known each other for years. They're buddies. So we'd all go out and we'd have drinks. And William Kassouf was an amazingly fun individual. Lovely human being, banter, and that's why when you said he was on the spectrum, I said, I don't think so, because I've been out with him, and he was just a really lovely, down-to-earth guy. He was nice, he was generous, like, would always tip and, like, just really take care of, like, the waitresses and stuff we were out, and just be really proper to everybody. And then when he got that green Lamborghini, and the 9-high like a boss shit started, where he got super popular with, it literally flopped overnight, dude. It was incredible, where, like, me and him and Lauren and, and other Will, like, so both Wills and me and Lauren would, like, we went out for drinks one night after work. It was super nice. He was still being his chill self. Like, not 4 days later, he comes through my late reg line. I'm in my suit. Like, I don't look any different. Like, he probably went out with me in a suit. And the dude, this was just when the poker news stuff had, like, blown up, and he had made, like, a couple million in the last couple days. And he literally hit that couple million, and no one was important. Like, he didn't remember anyone anymore. Like, came to I was like, what's up, Will? How's it going, man? He looks up and goes, do I know you? And I'm like, I literally just had drinks and, like, talked with this dude for an hour, like 3 nights before this. And then it was like he hit that million in that green Lambo, and that was it. And it was super weird to me, and it's gotten, like, progressively worse, where to me he's almost like in the poker community, like the Antonio Brown of the poker community, with how he's went from, I can vouch for the dude that I genuinely enjoyed looking forward to, like, nights out where I knew we were going to have fun. It was going to be wild and a good time, and it was going to be super proper, to where now I'm like, shit, I got to deal with him, today. This is going to be my section. Him and Martin Cabral, and I hate them getting compared, because Martin Cabral, it's good-natured. I act a little bit like Cabral at the table, where I'm loud, I'm chatty, I'm being silly because I'm there for fun. And I think what Cabral does is good-natured, and he's loving the game. I don't like it sometimes, and as a floor, I'll go over, and when Martin's in my section, I'll go over, Martin, how we doing today? Fine, and start talking to me. I say, hey, this is your pre-warning. Same as I give Vidget at Cash Cows, and Vidget thinks I'm joking about that, but I give Vidget and Martin Cabral the same exact warning at each venue, And I'm like, we ain't doing it today, Martin. You get loud and disruptive. You're going to come over here and you're going to be loud and disruptive on the sideline with me. I'm going to take 20 minutes to hang out with you. And he was, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm 100% serious. You're not, we're not messing with you today. But I don't do that with Kassouf, because Kassouf's not good-natured. That'll immediately cause World War III with him, even though I've known this dude personally. And that's, to me, I hate them when they're compared, because they're both loud voices in poker, but one is like having fun and loving the game, and the other one is there to make everyone around him miserable.
I see them the same. Not as the same, but I see them the same as you. I think they're two totally different intention players. So, yeah, I'd agree with that, but I think they're both, definitely Kassouf has to be on amphetamines. There's no way you can talk that much.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on it, and I don't think he ever had issues. I don't know how you go from having no issues like that to lots of them. Because obviously before he got the green Lambo in May, and he'd won before that, it wasn't like that was his first ever win, and he'd never had any poker success. He was already good at poker and already had success. So as someone who, like, takes the game seriously myself, and, I'm having a little bit of success running a company, I have success playing. I can't imagine having so much success that I'm no longer friends with the people that I'm friends with at this time because of the success. Like, I can see having falling outs with people because you have falling outs through life with people, and that's life. But I can't see it as, ah, shit, man, I just made like $1 million. I don't have to be cool with you anymore. Like, I just don't understand that concept from like that. And I know humans act like that from time to time, but me personally, I can't see like, I don't fathom like myself acting like that. It's hard for me to comprehend why you would flip flop that extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a tale as old as time, Eric. Like, it's never happened to me because I don't know anybody who's been an overnight millionaire. But not that I'm giving him an excuse, but that's literally a tale as old as time. They say money changes people. It makes people do things they would never do. It's sad, but so how did you feel then when they walked him out of the 2025 World Series of Poker?
I mean, honestly, like, just because, like I said, I have like a little personal knowledge on him, I just thought kind of a wow. Like, it's funny because Daniel Wyman, that won the main, not this year was Mizrachi, last year was the computer solver kid. So 3 winners ago.
Yeah.
He's actually my wife's ex-boyfriend's very good friend. They used to all be in the same poker group and be bankrolled by the same guys. So I've actually, like, my life is weird because I've got to, like, hang out. Like, I was back hanging out with Wyman where before he won that main event, he was thinking about quitting poker. Like, he had just been, like, having a horrible summer and, like, wasn't even going to play the main and was just kind of burned out and tired of poker. And it seems like now after he's won it, he's still, like, kept that path where he didn't overplay last year and just come and fire everything these last couple of years. It seems like he's taken off a little bit and is... I mean, what do you do after you win the main event? You won the biggest poker tournament in the world. I mean, the most money you're ever going to win on a single day of getting, a cash prize in a poker tournament. Because you're not going to beat that in the high roller anywhere. Because the volume of players won't be big enough.
But it's also the one tournament that everybody's going to see you raise that bracelet up. Everybody, because it's going to be on every single highlight. It's the only tournament.
But what do you do after it? Like, how do you like, if I win the main event tomorrow and I got $8 million in my pocket and I have absolutely just won literally, I've won the World Series of Poker. This is it. Like, I just won the mecca of it. It'd just be hard to get fired up about winning other money.
Yeah.
Because unless I'm going to somehow win this again, and even the second time, it's not going to feel as good as this time. It's like you've kind of, like, accomplished every goal that, like, every poker player sits out there to ever do in his life. So I can kind of see where, like, some of these young kids that have won and are bracelet winners in the past or won the main, like Joe Cotto. There's another guy who rarely plays poker at all anymore. Somebody's like, I just don't get it, man. You've now got the biggest bankroll you've ever had in your life and you can just play. It's like that. Yes, but you've completed all the quests. The game's over. You won. Like, the game, what are you going to get after that? Another 8 million? I mean, I guess, but.
So does that make you feel like Phil Hellmuth has a lot more to brag about than most people give him credit for? The fact that he still goes out there and competes that hard for those bracelets? I mean, maybe not currently, but how do you feel about the greatest player of all time race? I mean, you just said here it's hard. You lose that surgeons to be able to want to continue the fight, and now he's the most bracelets ever.
Well, Hellmuth, obviously he won. What was it? He won two mains, right? I think
he
two, but it was back in the days of, like,
he won 89.
Back in the days of a winnable field, like, because I don't consider, even with the greatest, we got a 2-hour structure with, $60K in chips, and you start at 200, 300, 300 to 122, one of the two.
And it's a freeze out, right?
Yeah, you pick one flight, you play. Can you imagine if we're getting 10,000 entries or 12,000? How stupid it would be to allow re-entry on it? Because I'm curious, like, just give us one mecca event where, like, because we do all right, like, we do good as, like, in the industry that week, like, that's, like, the best week, for staff and everything, and I'm just, like, imagining, like, man, just give them a 10K where they, just, like, a secondary, like, or, like, make it an 8K and, like, some weird thing where you only give them, like, an hour and a half blinds, but, like, just let them rebuy, because I want to see what would happen. If we're getting 10 grand for the World Series main event, like, I'd like to think we'd get 22 or 23 if we just let them go nuts and burn whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, I think the title, though, is why you get why you get 9,900 entries, because that's what it was last year, right? Like 9,900. It was just shy of
Yeah, it's always right around 10.
Yeah.
It's a little more, a little less, and sometimes if it kicks up, I think 12 is like 12 something is the record or something like that.
Yeah. What do you know about the Tom DeLonge situation?
I don't know what I think about it. I know, like, I followed it, and I don't know whether I think he's super, super clever, because if I owe a shit ton of scary people money, and, I don't have that said money, that's a pretty good way to
Is that
try to
something
fade
that's
worrying about
public?
it.
That he owed people money?
Yeah, it's pretty openly talked about. Something to do, it has a lot to do with Macau.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, whoever his backer is Macau based. From what again, I'm not an expert. I'm not like speaking like I have inside information on it or anything. I'm just what I've read on it. Going like apeshit crazy on a plane and getting removed from a plane and not being able to fly. I mean, all tracks really well, but at the same time, like, who are we to know what's going on in his head, whether this is genuine, whether this is a ploy to avoid worse things. So I don't even want to have an opinion on it just because I don't know, and I don't think we can possibly know what's going on in somebody else's head, whether it's genuine or a super smart ruse to try to get out of a massive amount of debt. Because if I get locked up in an insane asylum or, in a mental health facility and you can't even come in and visit me, it's going to be tough for you to come in and collect from me. But I think, again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about sad things happening in poker or sad things happening with poker players that overall, what are we hearing here? World-class player that's world-renowned and respected by his peers and may owe these people a bunch of money and may be faking this stuff, or it may be real, but either way, like, it's either a real mental health issue or fake mental health, which is, again, another blemish in our community of, well, look what poker does to people. Just another bad look of more gambling. It's like, man, a lot of poker players aren't degenerate gamblers. I'm not. I go to the casino, I play poker, I go home. You're not catching me on video poker, blackjack, table games, but again, the stigma of poker being this scary, dangerous thing, and then people keep doing dumb shit that are attached to our community, I think is making it really difficult to ever get that lifted,
God, we're going to have to do a second episode. Last thing, I'll let you go. Is there any nostalgia with Phil Ivey for you?
I have a great Phil Ivey story. Like, this is hilarious. I accidentally, so when I was still doing late reg, so not this past year, but 2 years ago, I was doing late reg, and Phil Ivey's assistants, he's got like 2 assistants. I don't remember their names, but it's 2 women that are very nice, and they'll come up and they just like, they'll max late reg him. So they're going to come to me when I'm like trying to close my table and we're trying to be done for the day, and they're going to get that very last seat card and go and put it down so it can be blinding, and Phil will come play when he feels like it after dinner or whatever. And these will be like 1K is 1,500, like he just wants the points for him because he's trying for player of the year and shit. So like, they'll put him down, and I did that one day, and I was leaving, and some security guard said something to me, and I said something to her like, yeah, going home to get out of this suit, and I hear somebody behind me running his mouth. He goes, quit flirting with them women and get out of here, man. And without even looking back, I said, man, I'm getting out of here. I ain't flirting. I'm happily married. I'm going home, bro. And I turn around, and it's Phil. And I hadn't probably talked to him because, I hadn't been a dealer, and I'm on day 1 bracelets as a floor, so that's not really Phil's game because he's all about his mixed games and like the big high buy-ins that we don't mess with on my shift. So like, I probably hadn't talked to him in person since I had been like dealing to him on final tables and out having a smoke break with him on a player break or something. But I turned around, I was like, why are you back here talking shit, man? And he goes, he just looked at me kind of that shyly. He goes, I just don't talk to a lot of people, so I wanted to fuck with you. And I said, at least I ain't scared to say nothing back, because most people would just like ask to get a picture with him, and they're like scared to talk to him. And he's a really nice. I hated how like in the poker community there's these weird personas, and it's like nobody's persona, like a lot of the times it doesn't match how they are in real life. Like Phil Hellmuth has this poker brat persona, right, where he's the poker brat and he's an asshole and he's just hateful to everybody, and he's terrible to play with, and and miserable at the table, right? And that's his shtick, where he's, he makes money, that being his persona and stuff, right? But like, he's the nicest guy ever. Like, I deal with him all the time, and I've only had like a few people where I've ever heard say, well, yeah, he got out of line with me because I made a mistake as a dealer or something. But like, he's come to like be like, a coordinator with us dealers, where he just comes in and like says hi and shakes our hand and tells us he appreciates us being there, like during orientation. I've interacted with him, off and on for 10 years, and he's just a super nice guy. He's polite, he's respectful. Like, when the cameras are on him, he's the brat. When the cameras aren't on him, he's not sitting here, oh, if luck wasn't involved, I would win every time. He's sitting there like joking around with people and taking pictures. And he's a pretty nice guy. I'm not saying he's perfect, because of what poker player is. But like Negreanu, there's another one, like Kid Poker, like that, and you were saying earlier when we were chatting outside, you were like, oh, I love Negreanu. And I'm like, man, I can't deal with him, because the real Negreanu is the shirtless rant you've seen on the GG poker coverage on, when he's doing his own shirtless rants about something he doesn't like at the series, or something he doesn't like that we're doing or that's going on in poker. And I feel like Phil is more genuine. Like Ivy is more genuine, where Ivy looks like he's chill when he's on the table and he's just getting the massage and looks maybe stoned, maybe not. Like, you're not 100% sure, but he's just a super chill dude. And that's how all my interactions with him have been in real life, is very chill guy, nice guy, joking with you. But like, I see like people so timid around him. Like, I'm like, who actually talks to him besides the other high limit players and befriends him? Because I feel like even when he's at a normal like 1K table, like all the players are like texting like, holy shit, I'm playing with Phil Ivey. Well, like, talk to him, say something, like ask for a picture. No, man, I'm not going to say hi to him. That's Phil Ivey. Okay. Like, he's a person.
I'd be the same.
But he's a human being. Like
he's a legend, though.
If I was as good as a floor manager, or at running my company, or at being a dealer, a player, etc., as Phil Ivey, I'm sure we'd get old after a while of everybody wanting to, take my picture and have me kiss their baby's forehead, or whatever you have to do when you're that famous. But I feel like that's kind of part of it, and I think that he doesn't like shy away from that. Like, I feel like Negreanu's kind of always the grit in the teeth. Yeah, I'll get another picture. Oh, hey, fake smile, and then goes on his way, where I feel like, Ivy might be more likely to just be like, hey, man, no, I can't right now. I'm sorry, but be honest with you and just keep walking and be friendly, as opposed to, I'd rather you just be honest and like real, as opposed to whatever you think the camera wants to see. So that's kind of one of my like opinions on them for sure, is Ivy is so genuine when it comes to stuff like that, where, oh, and you did ask me about my first World Series year. We'll finish with this. The very first person I ever dealt to in my entire dealing career. We're talking, I had done dealer school. I had done lots of home games in Missouri. And I'd done like little Vegas parties, like, where you go and you do casino nights to practice. But I sit down at the employees event, 2010. Eric Lindgren is somehow found his fucking way into an employees event. He's sitting right where you are, right in front of me in the 5 seat. I'm nervous. I'm shaking. It's my first World Series down. Like, I'm pushing in. I'm like, and I'm sitting there expecting, they're like, don't be nervous. You're going to be dealing to a bunch of your coworkers and just people in the dealing industry today. You're fine. Just people that work in casinos. You're fine. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, no, this is bullshit. I'm looking right at Eric Lindgren. I'm having to deal him cards right now. And what's really funny about, like, and this is, I guess, where, unless you have another one for me, like, but I'll finish with this. Eric Lindgren's such a nice guy that we chatted. He could tell right away. He goes, I can tell you know poker, but you still look nervous. I'm like, first time in Vegas. I know poker, first time here with you guys. He goes, you're doing fine, you're doing great. So we get done with it down, and when I'm done, he gives me a fist bump. He goes, great job, man. You're going to have a good summer. That was that. Like 2 years later, he marries Erica, Erica Lindgren. I don't remember what she was before that. But I run into him again at a table, at some final table I'm dealing or something, and we were chatting, and I said, hey, congrats on getting married, how's it going? He goes, good, man. Married life is good. I can't wait for you to do the same thing. I said, come on, Eric. I ain't never going to do that, man. Like, I'm never getting married. So I told him. That was like probably 2 years into my career, maybe 3. And after that, we probably didn't see each other or speak for another 3 or 4 years. And when I married my wife and we posted our wedding pictures, I just get a little message and a little post on my Facebook from Lindgren. He's like, fucking liar. Like just waits 4 years and then calls me a fucking liar. He goes, I told you you'd finally find. He's like, you'll find one that'll finally be enough pain in the ass. You'll get married to her. I said, not me, man. He goes, trust me on this one. And then he had to, of course, come back 4 years later and talk shit on it after he's seen it too. So that's funny.
Yeah, man, we could go forever, dude. I want to know all about Rampage Poker and what you think of the intricacies of being able to play poker recorded on your phone and make a living. I want to know it all, but we got to wrap it up, man.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, dude, for creating an awesome space, now 2 spaces. Your events, Cash Cows Poker, people can find you on Facebook.
Absolutely. They can find me on Facebook if he can put some up on the screen. They can call me directly on my personal line at 660-233-2273 if they want to get on our text message list, if they want to just speak with me and ask questions. Don't ever feel bad about contacting me or asking questions. Like, I have guys all the time, like, ask me 10 things, but I'm so sorry to bother you. And I'm like, look, man, this is my job. I'm happy to answer any of these questions. You're never bothering me. They can message us on Facebook, but the best way for them to do it is go to that Facebook group, Cash Cows Poker TV Players Club, and they can get all the information they want on there, and they can reach out to me or any of my staff, and we can give them any details and any questions they want.
Nice, dude. Cash games, tournaments, mixed games, live stream final
They come in and
tables.
tell me what they want to play, and they get me one other player that wants to play it. I will sit a dealer down, and we will get it going for them. That's a guarantee.
Heck yeah, dude.
All right, man.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.
I know. I appreciate you coming all the way out here, bro.
Oh, dude, you guys are awesome. This was
Thanks,
so much
dude.
fun, man.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Take care.
All right, man. Ooh, that was